Imagine a crime scene so horrific, so meticulously staged, that even seasoned detectives recoiled. A young woman, beautiful and aspiring, found brutally cut in half, her body drained of blood, and a terrifying smile carved across her face. This wasn't just murder, it was a macabre masterpiece, a message delivered with chilling precision. And what makes it truly disturbing? Despite one of the largest manhunts in history and hundreds of confessions, the identity of the monster who did this remains one of America's oldest and most haunting cold cases. What really happened to Elizabeth Short, the woman notoriously dubbed the Black Dahlia? To understand the chilling depths of this mystery, we have to go back to January 15, 1947. Los Angeles, in the aftermath of World War II, was a city booming with dreams and dark corners. It was a place where starlets chased fame and shadows often swallowed them whole. On that fateful morning, a mother named Betty Bersinger was out for a walk with her young daughter in Leimert Park. She spotted what she initially thought were discarded mannequins, but as she drew closer, the horrifying truth emerged. It was the mutilated body of a woman. Not just any woman, but Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress just trying to make it in Hollywood. The scene was beyond grotesque. Her body was drained of blood, meticulously scrubbed clean, and then severed at the waist, precisely bisected. Her internal organs had been removed and carefully placed nearby, and perhaps most disturbingly, her mouth had been slashed from ear to ear, creating a ghastly, permanent grin, a detail that would forever define her case and terrorize the public imagination. The media, hungry for sensationalism, quickly latched onto a nickname she had been given by a pharmacy co-worker, the Black Dahlia, a nod to the recently released film The Blue Dahlia and her penchant for wearing black clothing. The name stuck, and with it, a legend of Hollywood horror was born. But who was Elizabeth Short before she became a macabre icon? She was a transient drifting from Massachusetts to Florida, then eventually to California, always chasing a dream, or perhaps running from a past. She had a difficult childhood, her father leaving the family when she was young, and she spent time working odd jobs, often living with various men. She was known to frequent bars and clubs, to be a bit of a flirt, but never promiscuous, always aspiring to something more. Her last known whereabouts were in the company of a salesman named Robert Manley, who dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel on January 9th. 6 days later, she was found. The LAPD launched one of the most exhaustive investigations in its history. Hundreds of detectives were assigned, and an estimated 10,000 people were interviewed. The scale of the hunt was unprecedented, but almost immediately the case spiraled into a chaotic mess of false leads and sensationalism. Before Elizabeth's body was even formally identified, two separate newspapers, the Los Angeles Examiner and the Herald Express, received phone calls claiming to be from the killer. They promised to send souvenirs. And then on January 24th, a package arrived at the Examiner. It contained Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, social security card, photographs, and an address book, all carefully cleaned with gasoline. This wasn't just murder, it was a deliberate, taunting communication. The killer was playing a game. What followed was a deluge of false confessions. Over 300 people, men and women alike, came forward claiming responsibility for the brutal murder. Each one was desperate for attention, or perhaps truly deranged. More disturbingly, over 60 people were formally identified as potential suspects. The sheer volume of information overwhelmed the police, blurring the lines between genuine leads and deranged fantasies. The media, meanwhile, fueled the fire, publishing lurid details and speculating wildly, often hindering the investigation more than helping it. The pressure on the LAPD was immense. They were chasing shadows, their only solid evidence a body so meticulously brutalized that it offered few forensic clues, and a killer who seemed to relish the attention. Every potential lead, every distant connection, every whisper in the Hollywood underworld was pursued, yet the true perpetrator remained elusive. This was a killer who not only committed a monstrous act, but who also ensured they would never be caught. turning the investigation into a public spectacle that overshadowed the victim herself. The most terrifying moment came not from a new piece of evidence, but from the escalating psychological warfare waged by the killer. A single, ominous note was mailed to the police and local newspapers. "I will eventually turn myself in. For this murder, I had fair play by the DA and police." This wasn't a confession, it was a defiant declaration, a promise of surrender that was never fulfilled. It was a cold, calculating move designed to keep the world guessing, to extend the killer's macabre performance. The note highlighted not just the brutality of the crime, but the sheer arrogance and psychological manipulation of the perpetrator. It signaled that this killer was not just a murderer, but a master of psychological torture, enjoying the fear and confusion they had sown. The public, already gripped by fear, now knew they were dealing with not just a killer, but a sadist who reveled in their anguish. This was a person who took pleasure in the chase, in the inability of the authorities to bring them to justice. The message was clear: they were in control, and the police were merely puppets in their gruesome play. This was the moment the Black Dahlia case stopped being just a local murder and became a national nightmare, a testament to the chilling power of a killer who could disappear into thin air, leaving behind only questions and a trail of shattered lives. To this day, over 75 years later, the murder of Elizabeth Short remains unsolved. The Black Dahlia case haunts the collective imagination, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the glamorous facade of Hollywood. Was it a jilted lover, a jealous acquaintance, a deranged doctor, or perhaps someone else entirely? The theories are endless, ranging from a serial killer like the lipstick killer to a well-connected individual who was protected by powerful forces. One prominent theory, championed by retired LAPD detective Steve Hodel, points to his own father, Dr. George Hodel, a prominent physician. Hodel discovered disturbing evidence, including his father's medical experience, potential connections to Elizabeth Short, and even photographs that bore an unsettling resemblance to her. But without a definitive confession or irrefutable evidence, it remains a heavily analyzed yet ultimately unproven theory. The truth remains buried, perhaps forever lost to time, or deliberately obscured by a killer so cunning that they bypassed every dragnet set for them. The story of Elizabeth Short isn't just about a brutal murder, it's about the relentless pursuit of dreams in a city that promises everything, but sometimes delivers only tragedy. It's about the eternal allure of unsolved mysteries and the way they seep into our cultural consciousness, becoming urban legends that whisper of forgotten horrors. We may never know the full truth of what really happened to the Black Dahlia, but her story continues to serve as a stark warning, a ghostly echo from a darker time. If you want to dive deeper into the dark underbelly of Hollywood and its unsolved mysteries, the next video explores the chilling tale of the Wonderland murders, another case that shattered the illusion of Tinseltown glamour.